Don't mistake a short man for a boy. I saw a tall man mistaken and treated as a boy. And that informed my determination to be a tall man. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dr. Julian Rowa. Now, growing up, like every other young guy did in our hood, I lived a very simple life. Very, very simple life. The end justified the means. Our sense of accomplishment was not particularly grand. Small strides made our heads spin with pride. Now, Jericho, or if you like, you can call it Jerry, in the eastern parts of Nairobi, was a rough terrain. Really, really rough. And as the big boy of very lovely, beautiful sisters, assuming a tough man was key. It didn't matter your age, it was just expected. What about our life choices? I remember three. One, crime. And especially for the boy child. Crime in Jerry was like a rite of passage. And then two, athletics. It offered some of us a route to opportunities. You could go to Oman to play professional football. Then for the outliers, there was education. But that is for those who dare to dream. In Jerry, the feeling of inferiority just lurked around. We always felt inferior. But I digress. Now, my father felt very strongly that there was need for us to do better than he did. And indeed, in my primary level exams, I did exceptionally well, brought back a beautiful certificate. And now I'm in secondary school. The first term of it, I'm taking home my report card. I hadn't done well. If I recall, I was position 23 out of 38. My father looked dejected. He looked resigned. And not telling it to anyone in particular. Like speaking to himself, he uttered the words, "Will any of my children ever amount to anything? Will any of my children ever amount to anything?" That really, really, really hurt. I could see the pain in his eyes. Now, given the living circumstances at home, we were 13 of us. Yes, 13. in a one-bedroom house. If you know Jericho, then you know. So on occasions, I would walk from Parklands High School, where I was a student, walk all the way to Barclays Bank, Queensway House branch in the CBD, where my father worked. Now, my father was a messenger. And being a messenger, his office was wherever you found him. Or at some corner somewhere. And most of the time, in the dark basement of Queensway House. This is where I hung out with my father, a man I had tremendous respect for, a man who, in my mind, was tall and my hero. And I enjoyed our chats. Yes, I did. The man knew how to listen. The man knew how to draw insights. He made me feel seen. And he made me feel heard. Oh Lord, and when he laughed, that booming, hearty laughter that just lit up our spaces. It was amazing. Then in one such visit, walking from Parklands to Queensway to connect with my dad, who the only time I had him for me because of our living circumstances is when I visited him at his office. We're leaning on some wall, having a very deep conversation. Then suddenly, the lights went off. And without warning, my father just disappeared. I was left a little bit confused, only to see him scamper back with 8 paraffin lanterns in a state of urgency, placing them strategically on the teller cubicles, and some of them on the supervisor's desks. In about a minute, a senior manager emerged, like in a way to confirm that everything was in order. Satisfied that my dad had done what was expected, he walked away. My father looked satisfied, and we continued our conversation. But it is the look that he had in his eyes when his boss was supervising his work that really stung. Yet another day again, I'm walking to CBD, and I see a man walking in very fast steps. He was sweating profusely, and his walk was a little animated, with both his hands flopping next to his hips, threatening almost to pull out of their sockets from their shoulders. And his hands were clutched in some envelopes. Clearly, he was running some errands. A little bemused, I decided to take a second look. And when I did, it was my father. That hurt me. And there was my sister that he really loved, Lois. Lois was my father's pet. And they had such a strong bond. As fate would have it, Lois was to die. I mourned for myself, and I mourned for my father. He was hurting. He was really hurting. Now, I come from a community that's very sophisticated and complicated on matters burial and funeral. They are good at organizing and very good at disorganizing. A debate would ensue about where my sister, who was of age, would be buried. Now, look, Lois was a mother of two, and she was unmarried. And tradition at the time dictated that if not married, we must find a volunteer to inter her body. Unbeknownst to us arranging in Nairobi, we leave with a casket all the way to Rongo, which is where my father came from. We reach this small local town, a local center by the name Dede. Now at Dede, we find mass of humanity waiting for us. Elders clad in tired-looking suits and ties, waiting to prosecute a case. The discussion, where should my sister be buried? My father, being a man of little means, almost had no say. And the deliberations went on. A volunteer had been found. The terms and conditions were not clear. But my sister would be buried at the farm that they have offered. I was barely 24. I'm looking at my father not knowing what to do. A decision has been made. I lost my mind. I yelled and screamed. And I said, no, we will bury my sister in my father's land. Being at a junction, the right arm was my father's, the left arm was the volunteers. I took responsibility and I asked for the casket to be moved to the right, which happened. You will never hear the last of it. My father, in a state of shock, not knowing what to do or the implications of my actions, he sat on the dusty, uneven road, his eyes sunken, looking lost. So we've interred my sister. And my father walks to me with a feeble smile. But with what was left of him in a strong handshake, with a direct eye contact, he told me, thank you, son. And he repeated again, thank you, son. It hurt. You can imagine your father, your hero, being treated as lesser. The three incidents I've shared attests to that. What does that do to the mind and the soul of a small boy? My father and I maintained a great bond. until he transitioned in 2001. My father and the state in which I knew him continues to be that one thing that fuels me and drives me to become something. Now, have I done well by my father? I don't know. The jury is still out. But I know that I've done exceptionally well in my banking career, exiting at the level the senior manager who made my tall father look small or short retired at. It's a promise I've given myself. I've been blessed to have achieved the highest level of education, being the proud owner of the title doctor. I've been blessed with a beautiful, lovely family. And the journey of my life has just begun. My father gave me so much with so little. Today, I don't care. I actually don't give a damn. If you think of me as tall, if you think of me as short, or if you think of me as a boy. And that feeling is particularly free. But I reflect and sometimes I stop to wonder, would I have been the same man I am today if the motivation was different? My good father taught me a lot. And I learned a lot from the story of his life. But I want to say this. Don't you ever mistake a short man for a boy. I am my father's son, John Akulah Rowa. Thank you.